You've probably heard the story of Queen Esther, right? The hero who saved her people from total destruction. But the part of the story that really matters, the part that made her who she was, started long before she ever saw a crown. So let's dive in and uncover the secret origin of this incredible queen.
So, when you think of a queen, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it a palace, a royal bloodline, maybe just raw power? It's a great place to start, because for the young woman who would become Queen Esther, the answer was something else entirely.
See, her greatest strength wasn't something she was born into, and it definitely wasn't something she could just wear. It was forged in a completely different kind of fire. Her power, her protection, it was all rooted in something she was commanded to hide, a secret identity that would end up shaping her entire destiny. Okay, so let's go all the way back to the beginning. Her story doesn't start in a palace with servants and fanfare. It starts with loss, in the home of an orphaned girl living in exile. And the source text is incredibly clear about this. Before she was Esther the queen, she was a young girl named Hadassah, an orphan who had lost both her parents. She was raised by her older cousin Mordecai, who took her in and raised her as his own daughter. This is the foundation of everything, not royalty, but family and displacement. And her entire youth really was defined by this profound duality. She was constantly living a life between two completely different worlds. You know, her two names tell you everything you need to know. On one hand, you have her Hebrew name, Hadassah, which means myrtle, a symbol of peace and righteousness, tying her to her people. But in the Persian court, she was known as Esther, a name that means star. One name kept her grounded in her heritage. The other helped her shine and survive in a foreign land. She had to be both. And this wasn't just some personal dilemma, you know? It was the core struggle for all Jewish people living in exile. How much do you assimilate into the culture around you just to survive, and how much of your own identity do you fight to preserve? For Esther, hiding her Jewish heritage wasn't about shame. It was a critical strategy for survival. And make no mistake, this wasn't an accident or something she just forgot to mention. Mordecai explicitly commanded her to keep her identity a secret. This makes the concealment a deliberate, high-stakes move from the very beginning. And that, of course, brings us to the man who gave that counsel, Mordecai. He wasn't just her cousin or guardian. He was her protector, her strategist, and the mentor who literally shaped her into the woman she would become. His influence was just profound. First, he gave her protection, taking in an orphan and giving her a home. Then he armed her with wisdom, teaching her the discernment she'd need to navigate a treacherous royal court. And finally, his guidance shaped the very core of her character. This one line right here, it reveals the incredible depth of their relationship. Think about it. Even after becoming queen, surrounded by all that power and prestige, she still listened to him. She followed his counsel, just as she had when she was a child. That shows a level of trust and respect that's just foundational to this whole story. All right, so we often hear that Esther's rise to the top was all about her looks. But the story itself reveals a much deeper truth, that the favor she found came from something far more powerful than just beauty. And I mean, that's a story we all know, right? The text says she was fair and beautiful, and that's why she was taken to the palace in the first place, during the king's search for a new queen. But was that the only reason she succeeded where so many others failed? The text really suggests there was something else going on, something more important at play. It all came down to her character, specifically these three traits: humility in a place filled with pride, obedience to wise counsel, and a powerful sense of restraint, especially when everyone else was grasping for more. And here's the proof. When it was finally her turn to go before the king, unlike all the other women, she didn't demand all these lavish jewels or fancy clothes. She humbly and quietly accepted only what was given to her. That simple act of restraint made her stand out from the crowd and won her favor with, well, everyone. So in the end, it wasn't one or the other. Her beauty may have opened the door, sure, but it was her inner character, that rare combination of humility, wisdom, and obedience that truly prepared her for the incredible purpose that was just around the corner. And there you have it. The stage is set, not with a princess born into power, but with an orphan, a girl with a secret identity, a wise guide, and a character defined by profound humility. These were the true ingredients that prepared her for a moment when the fate of her entire nation would rest on her shoulders.
It really leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? Esther had no idea she was being prepared to save a nation. It makes you wonder, in our own lives, with our own challenges and secrets, how is our character being shaped right now for a purpose we can't even begin to imagine?